Welcome to a world where nothing is quite as it seems. Welcome to Fake Britain.
Get on! Get on the floor now! Put your hand behind your back now!
Here at the Fake Britain house, we'll reveal the fakes that are flooding the market, conning people like you and me and making money for the criminals. We'll investigate the fraudsters who are selling us something that isn't real and could be dangerous. And we'll help you avoid falling for a fake. Today on Fake Britain, fake food hygiene ratings on British high streets leaving customers deceived.
When you're claiming to be very good and you're actually not, as well as putting the public at risk, you are massively misleading them.
Fake phone apps that allow criminals to spy on you and steal your personal information.
One of the most disturbing things, of course, is that in attacks of this nature, the victim has absolutely no idea that they're being spied on in this manner.
The fake slimming machine that goes up in flames.
If anyone was using that at home, they might not even be able to get out of the house in time.
And fake plane tickets, leaving Brits stranded and out of pocket.
It's almost 2 years now. I'm still paying that debt.
You may have seen one of these before in a restaurant, a takeaway or a food shop window. It's a food hygiene rating certificate, part of a government scheme to let you know the hygiene standard of the premises. This is a 5, the top rating. That should mean you can trust that the business works to the highest standards, but food businesses up and down the country are now faking their ratings. A serious lack of food hygiene gave 16-year-old Evie Cousins from Oxfordshire the most frightening experience of her life. She was busy studying for her A-levels when she visited a popular high street restaurant chain for a family dinner. Shortly after, she began to feel really ill.
I'm not exaggerating, every few minutes I was up. Basically just stayed in the loo just because you're just going to vomit anyway, so no point.
Evie has type 1 diabetes and was very concerned something she ate in the restaurant may have caused her extreme vomiting.
My throat was burning because it was so acidic, and my vision was going in and out because, you know, I was just so dehydrated. My body was so tensed and seized up that it was just painful.
Things quickly got an awful lot worse and Evie was admitted to hospital. The added complication of Evie's diabetes meant her condition was now life-threatening.
The first thing the doctors and nurses had to do was to stop me vomiting because of my diabetes. Like, I had to keep food down so I could have insulin, because without insulin, your whole body goes a bit, you know, berserk.
Evie had fallen ill with norovirus, a vomiting bug which is passed on by a serious lack of hygiene, most commonly through people not washing their hands properly. She discovered the chicken she'd eaten in the restaurant she'd visited had been contaminated with the bug.
We thought it might have been food poisoning. We didn't realise it was as severe as a norovirus. Like, we didn't understand that. Knowing that this chicken was infested with a norovirus, it's terrifying.
After a couple of tense days, thankfully, Evie was discharged from hospital, but she was still too ill to return to school.
I just got stressed, and then I started disconnecting from friends, and then I started to just become really withdrawn, and I became really depressed, and I felt like I'd given up on my education. And yeah, just everything just seemed to be a bit wrong.
Evie missed so much school she had to restart her A-levels the following year and was now a year behind her peers.
Things would be so different if it didn't happen. Like, I wouldn't have had to drop out, I wouldn't have had to lose my mind a bit over it. I wouldn't have had to be that, like, it was quite traumatic, that experience, how ill I was, you know. How some people think, you know, when you're that young, you don't understand what sickness or tiredness is, when actually I do.
To make sure what happened to Evie doesn't happen to you, by ensuring food outlets maintain acceptable levels of cleanliness and food safety, the Food Standards Agency introduced the Food Hygiene Rating Scheme. That means it's now a legal requirement for every premises selling food in England, Wales and Northern Ireland to be inspected on an annual basis to ensure that hygiene levels are up to scratch. Today, Food Safety Officer James Beeson from Central Bedfordshire Council is inspecting a kitchen.
And the idea is to give consumers a choice of where they want to eat, but it gives them a choice on hygiene and food safety of that premises. You can't always tell by looking in a front window or just standing by a bar what those standards are.
And to assess the standard, James checks everything from how food is stored, handled and cooked to the kitchen's cleanliness and how the business manages its records. James will award a hygiene rating between 1 and 5, 5 being the highest score a business can receive. This kitchen is looking spick and span and will receive a high food hygiene rating. With the resulting certificate in the window, customers should have peace of mind knowing exactly what standard they're getting.
And it obviously is a very good marketing tool. The higher rating you get, it's likely to draw the customers in much more.
But unfortunately, there are some unscrupulous food sellers out there who've been faking it by displaying stickers stating they've got a 5-star rating when it couldn't be further from the truth. It's a worry for Environmental Health Officer Anne Coates.
So when you're claiming to be very good and you're actually not, you know you are, as well as putting the public at risk, massively misleading them that your business is safe and you know customers will be safe eating at your premises.
Which is why in Islington, North London, Trading Standards Officer Alonso Ursula was extremely concerned when he received a tip-off that this cafe restaurant called Veli's in Highbury was suspected to be faking their food hygiene rating.
The claim was that they were displaying a 5 rating, a 5 food hygiene rating, where in fact their actual rating was 1.
Now remember, 5 means the hygiene is very good and 1 means major improvement is necessary.
These were showing in the shop window.
And that wasn't all.
It was a certificate, slightly more fancy. This was in the shop, still well within the view of people that will be sitting there and dining, and this again shows 5, a certificate.
Although it's not a legal requirement in England to display your hygiene rating certificate, putting up a fake one is a criminal offence.
And that is a big deal because a 5 is basically saying you're pretty good in terms of food hygiene. It's something that the public, consumers, rely on a lot when choosing a restaurant. It's not the only factor, but it's one of many, and it's certainly an important one. So obviously claiming you're 5 when you're a 1 is a big deal.
Alonso built a case against the owner of Veli's Cafe for faking his food hygiene rating, which resulted in a fine just shy of £2,500. The cafe has now improved its level of food hygiene and has recently been awarded a 3-star rating. But Anne fears other UK restaurants are faking it.
The business here is faking their score, which means that they're faking their reputation to customers. They're faking the amount of confidence that the consumer can have in their business, and in fact in the scheme as a whole. Because if they're faking the score, who else is faking their score?
And Anne's not the only one that's concerned. All over the UK, food safety officers like James carry out checks on a daily basis to catch any restaurants that are displaying fake food hygiene ratings in their windows.
This business has got a rating of 5, so I'm just going to quickly double check on the Food Standards Agency website to see if that's what's being displayed.
Since all the scores for food outlets in the UK are published on the Food Standards Agency website and available through a number of phone apps, you too can check in a matter of seconds if any restaurant displaying a rating is faking it.
Yep, it's got a 5 and it's displaying a 5, so that's all good.
So here at Fake Britain, we decided to give it a go and carried out our own checks to see if we could find any restaurants that were faking it. We checked the ratings displayed in the windows of a number of local eateries in central London against the actual ratings they were issued. And out of the 21 food outlets we checked, we were horrified to discover 4 that were faking it. That's almost 1 in 5.
Well, if 1 in 5 restaurants are faking it, that's a huge percentage. That would worry me.
If restaurants are faking their food hygiene, it's quite appalling, and it does make me question whether I'd want to go out and eat.
The idea that people might be faking their ratings is obviously a very disturbing thing, so it'd be nice to name and shame them perhaps.
We even found one displaying a fake 5-star rating even though it's only actually got a 1.
If they're saying that they've got a perfect record and that in actual fact it could be a health danger, then obviously your trust for then other places that probably are being honest and truthful is lost.
I would definitely be looking now out for that to make sure that I'm not eating somewhere where the hygiene is that low. That's, yeah, pretty outrageous, really.
We took our findings to Trading Standards, who will investigate the matter further. And for all you foodies out there, if you're concerned about the scores at your favourite restaurant, check it against the ratings published on the Food Standards Agency website or a phone app, so you can avoid falling for a fake.
If the score is different to the one that they're displaying, please let us know and our team will go and investigate.
It's claimed that you could lose weight and burn fat without lifting a finger just by using this device. It's called an ultrasonic liposuction machine. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it should do, because those claims are fake. Not only that, but this machine is dangerous, and the only kind of pounds you'll be losing are these. Britain's appetite for weight loss is at an all-time high, with hundreds of new fad diets, exercise plans and gadgets going on the market each week, claiming to help us to become slimmer. Gym enthusiast Celia Burt has been doing regular workouts for over 30 years and has never been one to shy away from new ways to keep healthy.
To lose weight, to tone up, you need to exercise and you need to eat the right foods. As well as that, if you could have a device that would break up body fat, then that would accelerate your goal.
And Celia thought she'd found just the ticket when she stumbled across a new revolutionary weight loss treatment, a slimming device called an ultrasonic liposuction machine.
The liposuction aspect was intriguing because that would break up, so I thought, the fat cells themselves. It was tempting.
Celia decided to give it a go and paid £196 to rent the liposuction machine for a month. When it arrived, she was impressed.
This is the device that was delivered by courier. It's heavy, meaty, chunky, opens quite nicely. It didn't look particularly high-tech, but I thought that this was the first generation of what would be an innovative product.
After reading the instructions, Celia began to use the machine.
Here are the 2 pads. So you put cream on your skin, you use one for 15 minutes, other for 15 minutes, half an hour each leg. I thought this was my sonic liposuction that was lessening the amount of fat that I had in my legs.
But her enthusiasm was short-lived.
After a week, which is 7 hours worth of treatment, nothing had happened at all. I didn't know whether it was my fault, whether it wasn't working for me particularly, or whether it was a fault with the machine, or whether it was a fault with the technology. After 2 weeks, no inch loss whatsoever, not a millimetre.
Celia noticed there was a button on the device which controlled the amount of power going through the pads and decided to give it a go.
But when I turned the intensity up, it just was painful.
She got back in touch with the supplier to see if they could help.
I phoned up the company who just hedged around saying you need to keep using it.
But one day things went dramatically wrong.
It was almost like holding your finger on a battery. It was almost like a shock. So it was a painful zap, and it wasn't pleasant, and it wasn't something I could put up with.
Celia wasn't the only person having doubts about the authenticity of the ultrasonic liposuction machine. 80 miles away in Warwickshire, Trading Standards officer Eleanor Lake had been contacted by other concerned customers.
We received complaints from other Trading Standards services about the way in which this business had been treating consumers. We had complaints of consumers not getting refunds when they've been requesting them, or they've been receiving dirty equipment that was covered in hairs and grease and generally not doing what it was supposed to do.
So today, Eleanor's taking a look for herself.
It describes itself at the top as an ultrasonic liposuction equipment. On first sighting, looks professional, comes in this silver metal casing, and it's got these fairly substantial crack and melt heads. So there's no reason necessarily why a consumer wouldn't believe that it wasn't doing what it said it was going to do and wasn't going to give them the results that they thought they were going to get from it.
Eleanor also discovered that the company supplying the product had taken out a number of full-page adverts in national newspapers, making some very serious claims about the machine.
This one's in the Daily Express. It claims that you can lose inches fast in the comfort of your own home and offers that you can save money and time on pricey salon visits.
Eleanor also had concerns with the authenticity of the adverts' testimonials.
We've got body pictures there of people with before and afters, and claims that it can be fast and totally pain-free to lose weight. And this one claims that this consumer allegedly rented this device before Christmas and lost inches from different areas of their body and was very pleased with the results.
But there was one burning question. Was there any truth to these claims, or were they and the machine both fake? In Harley Street, central London, consultant Barbara Jemmett has spent years carrying out fat reduction surgery. And she's about to compare Celia's liposuction machine against a genuine device.
This is a real liposuction machine that's using real surgery for real patients.
Using a genuine liposuction machine is part of a complex procedure which involves inserting an instrument under the skin and literally sucking out excess fat. But specialist technology like this comes at a price. Machines cost tens of thousands of pounds.
Most medical, authentic liposuction machines look like this.
But as Barbara takes a closer look at the suspect ultrasonic liposuction device, she's at a loss as to what it might be.
This machine has most noticeably two buttons, one of which says crack and the other one says melt. It has two heads. I don't really know what their purpose is. It looks like you can shift the intensity up and down. It doesn't look like any medical instruments that I would know.
This doesn't sound good.
I honestly have no idea what this device is supposed to do.
Back at Trading Standards, Eleanor thinks she may have found the answer. She's received a phone call from a concerned customer stating he'd found some dubious documents packaged with his liposuction machine.
I asked the consumer to send me a copy of it, and this is what he received, this device. It's listed here as a metal polishing machine, so claims that people could lose inches and lots of fat were indeed fake.
Later, we reveal just how dangerous these fake slimming devices are.
Anyone was using that at home, they might not even be able to get out of the house in time.
And we catch up with the man responsible for selling these potential death traps.
Why did you sell fake slimming devices, Mr. Nichols?
I'd really not like to discuss it, thank you very much.
Tens of thousands of apps are available to download onto our phones. We can shop, socialise, order a meal, watch a film, check a train time, in fact, almost anything. But the next app you download could be fake and it could steal your money and also rob you of your privacy. There are now around 37 million of these smartphones in the UK and many of us couldn't live without one. At the heart of these phones are applications known as apps. Nick Shaw at cybersecurity firm Symantec sees hundreds of new apps released on app stores every day.
I'm on the App Store, and some of the apps that I can see here are 7-Minute Workout, the eye scanner, and then obviously the popular ones such as dating apps like Tinder, etc. They are very useful and people actually find it a great way of going about their everyday life.
But whilst the phones we love give us access to the world, they can also give criminals access to our bank accounts, hold us to ransom, and even let people spy on us 24/7 without our knowledge. Welcome to the world of fake apps.
A fake app is an application that is not real. So for instance, it could be mimicking another application that is a real application. And the reason people have fake apps is because cyber criminals look for areas where they can make money, and there's a lot of users of applications.
And worryingly, there are a lot of fake apps out there too.
We're seeing explosive growth in the fake apps due to the fact that cyber criminals go where the money is and there's a lot of users in that area. And you could say for every legitimate app, there is someone building a fake app. We found roughly 5 million fake apps over the last year in various app stores, including the legitimate ones.
And what's worse is some of the fake apps and the real apps look very similar. Nick has some examples of fake apps that he discovered on various app stores available to users of Android phones.
So one of the well-known fake apps that we found is the Netflix app. And if you look at the genuine and the fake app, it's actually very subtle and very hard for people to tell the differences between the genuine and the fake app.
But there are some signs if you know what you're looking for.
The subtle differences between the genuine and the fake app. You can see the colours slightly different and also the font slightly different.
But what the real and fake apps do have in common is they both want you to enter your Netflix account details.
When the user logs into the fake app, they will put in their username and password and find that it doesn't work, and that actually then the fraudsters have got the information they want.
Once you log in, your personal details can then be sold, giving criminals access to your Netflix account for free. And if you've used the same password for your genuine banking apps, they could have access to your bank accounts too.
We found this app on one of the largest app stores, which is the Google Play Store. And obviously we alerted Google as soon as we found it, and they took it down immediately. But it just shows the risks for consumers.
And it's not just your login details that fraudster is after.
Another example of a fake app was the Pokemon Go one. And with this app, they were trying to take you out of the app to a website, and therefore harvesting more information there by actually getting you to fill out a survey that you thought was going to bring you coins or cheats or something to help you in the game, but actually you didn't get it. You filled out the survey and then you got nothing.
You may have got nothing, but believe it or not, the fraudsters are able to sell the surveys. In large numbers, they can make criminals a tidy profit.
And you just thought it didn't work, but actually they'd got all the information they needed.
Some crafty criminals have taken the fakery a step further in order to get their hands on your money. Users of the messaging service WhatsApp received a fake text message pretended to be from the developer, asking for a subscription fee of 99p.
So WhatsApp's free now, but a couple of years ago you used to have to pay 99p per year. So some users looked at this and thought, oh, do I need to pay to renew my subscription? And what happened was they put in their credit card details or their bank account details, and then the fraudsters had that information.
And the likelihood is they'll be taking a lot more than 99p. But as we're about to show you, there's a more shocking and sinister side to the fake apps. Once downloaded, some fake apps infect your phone with a bit of malware, which is an electronic virus. The downside is, it means that without knowing it, you've just given the hacker access to your phone. And today, we're going to find out just how alarming that can be. Rick Ferguson from the cybersecurity company Trend Micro is going to carry out a demonstration to show what the fake apps are capable of.
So this mobile device is already compromised. There's a fake app that's been installed, like one that you could download from any app store, that can actually do some pretty disturbing things when it comes to personal privacy.
So Rick is going to pose as the hacker. And we've given the infected smartphone to one of the members of our production team to see just how vulnerable you could be if you downloaded a fake app.
So she's headed out with the mobile phone, and we're going to find out exactly what this fake app is capable of. The first thing we're going to do is turn on the video camera on the mobile phone and find out what she's doing and where she is.
Whatever the camera on the fake app phone can see, Rick will be able to monitor on this screen here.
So how much fun do you think Tom's having in Vietnam right now then? Like probably loads, you know? Like, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, he's travelling, so... Yeah, but he was just going to go to a cooking course, and I'm like, you should go out.
Okay, so it looks like she's met up with some friends. She's out in the street, and they're having a chat. Perhaps one of the most disturbing things, of course, is that In attacks of this nature, the victim has absolutely no idea that they're being spied on in this manner.
I mean, admittedly, he looks 24 going on.
It's a terrifying thought. That could easily be you or I being spied on, and all for downloading a fake app. And Rick's concerned the cyber attacker could eavesdrop on more than a casual meeting with friends.
She could just as easily be, out for a romantic evening, or she could be in an important business meeting, and all of these moments of our lives are laid bare for the attacker through these kinds of apps.
And if you are using an ATM machine with your phone in your hand, the criminal could even use your phone's camera to record your PIN number as you key it in. But that's not all this fake app is capable of.
Obviously, what criminals are really after, and the driving motivation behind cybercrime, is money. And it's about getting access to money and credentials that lead to money.
It's a major worry, especially since the next thing the member of our production team needs to do is what many of us do on a daily basis: log on to a banking app. And because the fake app has hacked the phone, any banking details entered into a legitimate banking app can be intercepted by the criminal hackers.
So as she's logging on to her bank, we could be logging on with the same credentials at the same time, taking money out of her account or making purchases.
What's worse is we have no idea it's happened until it's too late.
We're giving away our details, and we're doing exactly what the criminals want us to do, allowing them to make money from our carelessness. So you end up in a position where, having downloaded, unbeknownst to you, a fake app and used it for what you believe to be its legitimate purpose, the criminals have taken your money, and you're not going to know anything about it until you get your bank statement.
But there's still one more sinister thing the fake app can do, and that's install ransomware on your phone.
The fake app will simply lock up your mobile device. They'll make it impossible for you to use it, for you to make phone calls, for you to send or receive emails, until you pay the ransom.
And wait for it. To get your phone unlocked, you normally have to pay the fraudsters between £200 and £300.
So as a victim of ransomware, whether it's on your phone, your PC, or anywhere else, when you're confronted with that screen demanding money, you have a simple choice. Either you pay the money, or you lose the files on your device forever. If you were the criminal behind a ransomware scheme, then you would simply be watching the success of your creation as it gets downloaded and sitting back and waiting for the money to roll in.
So how can you avoid being the next victim of a fake app? Well, Nick has some simple tips.
There's many ways you can protect yourself from fake apps. The first way is to only ever download apps from legitimate app stores. The second way is to make sure your mobile device has the latest operating system from the manufacturer. The third way is to always look at the ratings and also who the developer is. If you're looking at a Netflix app, for instance, it should be developed by Netflix. So look at those kind of things. If you're not sure about the app, look on the developer's website. See if there's a developer's website. That's always a good telltale sign if you can't see it on the developer's website. And then finally, have some form of security product on your mobile device.
Most of us are used to these. They're an e-ticket, and they're sent to us electronically when we book a flight or a holiday. You can keep it on your phone, or you can print it off and take it to the airport when you check in. But it doesn't really matter what you do with this one, though, because you're going nowhere. As you might expect on Fake Britain, it's not the real thing. But beware, it is part of a booming business. It's hard to imagine a world without air travel. It has connected our modest island with the rest of the world, taking us from one side of the globe to another in a matter of hours. According to Sean Tipton from travel association ABTA, we Brits can't get enough of it.
Last year we took over 70 million trips overseas, the vast majority of those by air. So we're incredibly well travelled. In fact, we're the second biggest market in the world. And that's because partly we're obviously more adventurous, we've been abroad many times over the years, and also airfares are probably the lowest they've ever been.
Of course, once you've booked your flight, you'll be issued a ticket. And these days, we receive electronic tickets, or e-tickets, which we can often print off in the comfort of our own homes. But this is where the problem starts.
15 or 20 years ago, when we travelled by air, you physically had to be posted a ticket. Now, that's been a great move forward that we now have e-tickets,
but it also means it's made it much easier for fraudsters to fake tickets up and make people think they actually have a valid reservation when they do not.
And what did the tickets we spent thousands of pounds on and thought would send us flying into the sunset turned out to be worthless fakes? In Brent, North London, Senior Trading Standards Officer Denise Power received piles of complaints from customers about a local travel agent called Airbridge Travel. But when Denise began making inquiries, the company all seemed above board.
Well, on their business website, they marketed themselves as a leading pan-European travel company specialising in worldwide travel. They also said that they were the #1 choice for more than 1 million customers and counting. And of interest, they also claim to be to provide unrivaled quality and price for all travel services and products we offer.
And like many travel agents these days, a lot of the business came to them online. More often than not, their prices were some of the cheapest on the market, so customers snapped them up. And in return for their cash, they were sent an e-ticket.
So yeah, I'm just looking at an example here, and the subject title is e-tickets, and it says, "Thank you for booking with Airbridge Travel. We're pleased to attach your e-tickets to this email." And you look at the tickets, and it looks quite good. It's got the names of all the travellers, it's got the scheduled departure times, and it's also got an airline reservation code.
But all wasn't quite as it seemed. Once customers had packed their bags, printed their tickets and scooted off to the airport, hoping to jet off overseas, they were in for a nasty surprise.
The customers were receiving this and perceiving it as being their genuine e-tickets that they would just take to the airport and be able to board the flight. But in fact, it wasn't an actual genuine e-ticket at all. It was nothing more than a fake ticket.
It was fakery that had huge consequences for those involved.
Many of the witnesses that we spoke to weren't even aware that they had been involved in the scam until they turned up at the airport with their bags packed, their kids in tow, ready to, to go on their holiday, only to be told that they weren't booked to fly at all.
Not only did the fake flight tickets leave many stranded at the check-in desk, it also left them out of pocket.
Some of them was thousands of pounds. There was families that were travelling with their young children, couples going home for family weddings or, for family events. So some people forked out thousands and thousands of pounds for tickets.
Because Airbridge Travel requested bank transfers rather than credit or debit card payments, their customers had absolutely no buyer protection. One customer of Airbridge Travel was Asif Gull. Like many of us Brits, he has family overseas and was planning to fly to Pakistan along with his daughter, wife and brother-in-law for a religious festival.
Yeah, that was a family trip, and it was very important for me. And obviously I trusted that company because that company looks okay to me. It was very exciting. That's why we booked early, so we just go there and enjoy our holidays.
Asif bought 4 return flights to Pakistan, which cost him £1,650. In return, he was sent a booking reference number. But as the departure date grew closer, there was no sign of the tickets.
When I made the payment after 2 weeks, I started chasing them, providing me the tickets. And they said they will provide the ticket in a week or so.
His tickets didn't arrive. But having already parted with a great deal of money, Asif decided to contact the airline directly and quoted his booking reference number. But he was in for some bad news.
I rang the Pakistan International Airline, PIA, to find out what's happening with my ticket. They said these tickets are never booked. They only reserved and then they said they cancelled. It was very upsetting.
He had just paid a small fortune for a fake booking reference number. Salvaging his trip by buying 4 new tickets for himself and his family landed him in debt.
So I had to borrow another £2,000, one of a family member, to pay to the travel agent, another travel to buy new tickets. It's almost 2 years now. I'm still paying that debt.
Denise was determined to bring the people behind Airbridge Travel to justice. But there was one problem: locating them. Today she's on her way to visit the offices where the business was registered in North London.
We're on our way to Kingsbury now. This will be the address where Airbridge Travel had their offices. I say had their offices, but they were very rarely based there, but it's the address that they certainly used on their website, and it's the address that some of the customers of Airbridge Travel visited to try and speak to them.
The office building is tucked away on an industrial estate, and it certainly doesn't look like your stereotypical high street travel agent. And Denise was about to find out that something wasn't quite adding up.
We came here, trading standards themselves came here to have a look around and possibly speak to Airbridge Travel when our investigations initially started, and there was nobody here when we arrived. There was some office equipment that wasn't even plugged in or anything, and we spoke to neighbouring businesses who informed us that they had spoken to members of the public who come in from off the street looking for Airbridge Travel, but only to find the office is empty.
Back at her own office, Denise began to piece together the fragments of this fakery and discovered Airbridge Travel was actually operating out of a call centre in Pakistan. But Denise was in luck. She tracked down the company director, Anas Ahmed, who was living just up the road in North London. And with a file full of complaints from over 30 customers who had fallen foul of fake flight tickets, she was able to build her case.
People were paying flights for individuals or for their families, so some people have forked out thousands and thousands of pounds. So we're looking in the remit of, in excess of £40,000 the customers have lost.
In court, Anas Ahmed pleaded guilty to counts of engaging in unfair commercial practice and 1 count of engaging in aggressive commercial practice. He was sent to prison for 12 months. But Sean is concerned this case of fake flight tickets is not a one-off, and the shift towards booking flights online has left the door open for criminals.
This has made it very attractive to fraudsters. It's very easy to set up a convincing-looking website and also tell somebody they've got a reservation and fake up a ticket. So, yeah, the internet has offered a lot of opportunities to some very dishonest people.
If you're worried about falling for a fake flight ticket, he has some advice to bear in mind before you book.
If you see a company that seems to be £100 or £200 cheaper than all of their competitors, why is this? Looks very suspicious, and it probably is. Secondly, if a company says you can only pay by bank transfer, that is again very suspicious, because in this day and age all companies can take credit or debit cards, and if you pay by bank transfer to a fraudster, the money's gone. It's like handing over cash to a total stranger. Thirdly, is the company a member of APTA or ATOL or other trade association? Because in this day and age, if they're not, that once more is a very suspicious looking sign. So if you see those 3 things in combination, you're almost certainly dealing with a fraudster. So don't pay by bank transfer to a private individual, look for membership of a trade association, and if you can, pay by credit or debit card.
Earlier, we heard how trading standards revealed fake ultrasonic liposuction devices being rented to thousands of people all over Britain.
It might be quite alarming to some consumers who thought they were getting a weight loss device and were being sent a metal polish machine instead.
And we heard how Celia Burt, who rented one, had grave concerns about the safety of the fake.
It was almost like holding your finger on a battery. It was almost like a shock. So it was a painful zap, and it wasn't pleasant, and it wasn't something I could put up with.
Today, the fake slimming machine has been sent to compliance engineer Simon William Smith. He's going to have a peek under the hood to see whether this fake is safe. It involves inspecting the machine and its wiring thoroughly to assess whether or not the components comply with UK safety regulations. And Simon's first concern is with the power supply.
There's a non-compliant UK 3-pin plug that is not fused. If we compare this plug to a standard BS1363 plug, we can see that the live and neutral pins are far too close to the edge, and that it's possible to touch it with your thumb and forefinger if you were to insert it into a standard UK socket outlet.
This could have had catastrophic consequences for the thousands of people like Celia who have been using these machines.
If you were to insert that into a standard socket outlet, your hand would essentially become a live conductor, and you could suffer an electric shock.
Next, Simon strips the insulation layer off the mains wire and makes a discovery about the copper wire inside.
These copper conductors look far too thin to actually carry a adequate test current.
Simon is now going to carry out an important safety test.
I'm just going to pass a test current of 25 amps through it. I'm going to see if anything occurs. Best case scenario, nothing happens whatsoever. Worst case scenario, we might see some smouldering or even a fire over the length of the cable.
As he runs a live current through the wire attached to the slimming device, the true horrors of this fake become abundantly clear.
The fact that burst into flames within sort of 20 seconds, it just goes to show how unsuitable that is.
Dangerous wiring, dangerous plug and a fire hazard. Simon's seen enough.
That's very scary to me, Matt. The fact that went up so quick, if anyone was using that at home, they might not even be able to get out of the house in time. Without a doubt, a dangerous fake product. It has a CE mark on the back of the packaging. In no way does this meet UK or European standards.
News of the fakery has come as quite a shock to Celia.
Night after night after night of using this device, but with no positive result. When I see this now and I know that it could burn you, burn me, burn my house down, that it's electrically unsafe, and that I paid £200 for the privilege of having it in my house for 2 weeks, I'm absolutely devastated.
Eleanor Lake and the team at Trading Standards were determined to bring Mr. Nichols, the man selling these dangerous fakes, to justice. She discovered he was buying the fakes, which, remember, were actually metal polishing devices, on eBay for £170 each. He then rented them as genuine liposuction machines for £49 a week, earning him around £400,000.
For some consumers who are desperate to lose weight, it was an offer that, although seemingly too good to be true, many consumers took up, and a substantial amount of money was received by Mr. Nichols.
Today, Trading Standards officer Simon Cripwell is at Coventry Crown Court, where Mr. Nichols pleaded guilty to supplying unsafe appliances and placing false adverts in newspapers.
The recorder was quite clear about the devices. He said that he was entirely satisfied the devices were a sham, and he described Mr. Nichols as a snake oil salesman.
He was unable to wriggle out of his crimes and received a 9-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years and 150 hours of unpaid work.
We are satisfied with the results, and we're happy with the way that we took the investigation and its successful prosecution.
And while we were at court, we spoke to the slippery salesman to see what he had to say about his fake liposuction machines.
Why did you sell fake and counterfeit slimming devices, Mr. Nichols?
I'd really not like to discuss it. Thank you very much.
Would you like to apologise to any of the victims that you rented these devices to?
I'd not like to discuss any of it, thank you.
That's all from Fake Britain. Goodbye.